Okay, so I've got this internal space here where I'm going to add, I'm actually going to do a few different stairs just as examples to give you ideas how to make the stairs you might need for your designs. And so using the Stair Tool, it's on the Architecture tab, and you can see there in the Circulation panel you have stair, ramp and railing, which are all related tools. And if you click on the down arrow next to the stair button, you'll see you've got two options for making stairs: stair by component and stair by sketch. I'm going to recommend that you use stair by sketch for all of your stairs at first. Play around with stair by component if you like. It is useful sometimes, but a bit more difficult to adjust than stair by sketch. And if you're working from the plan, from a floor plan, then stair by sketch is probably a better option anyway. So I'm going to go to stair by sketch, and then you can see in properties it's come up with the levels that I've created already. So ground floor is the base level, and then the top levels come up as level 1. Okay, and so if you've added extra levels, it may pick up a different level as your top level, and you should always check that. And when you're doing your stair design, that's the way you should be thinking anyway. The first thing you think about when you're making a stair is the level you're starting on and then the level you're going to, and that establishes the floor to floor height, which you'll hear people talk about a lot when they're designing stairs. And so having established that floor to floor height between these two levels, then I'll just go down further and you'll see it's given me a desired number of rises. And so it's pretty clever actually. It's got built in, I'll just go to edit type, and you'll see it's got built in a maximum riser height, which if you're using the Australian template is going to be set to 190 automatically for most of the stairs. Sometimes for certain stairs it may be different, but generally it is going to be set to 190. That's the maximum riser height. I just wanted to show you that. I'm going to cancel that now. And so then, based on the floor to floor height, it'll divide that up and give you an actual riser height here, which you can see has come up as 184.6. Now that's with 26 rises. If I increase that, let's make it say 28, you'll see then that that actual riser height is going to change, because we've now got additional rises to divide up that that height between the floors. And then that's probably a better riser height anyway. It's good if you can maybe not always go to the maximum. And so I'm just going to do a stair to begin with that goes up along the back here. So this will be mainly a service type stair. I'm not going to have a feature stair straight away. So I'll put one down towards the rear of this wall, just alongside this wall is where I want it to go. So I also want that stair to be narrower, and you'll see above the desired riser height you have a width, and so I'll just make that 1,000, which is about the minimum that you'd want, the minimum width you'd want for your stairs. Okay, and so then I'll just go to draw it now. Notice it's on run up on the ribbon, so you've got three options there: run, boundary and riser. Run, if you can use it, is often the best option. And I'll show you what the others do in a minute. So I'll just click somewhere to start my stair. Yeah. And then going to the left, you'll see it's going to count those rises. Alright, so it's in grey, it might be a bit hard to read there, but it's just below the blue line, and it's telling me it's got 10 rises created, 18 remaining. Remember how many stairs or how many treads or rises you can have as a maximum in a flight of stairs? 18, I think it is, yeah. So that's right, isn't it, Connie? Yep, I'm pretty sure it's 18. They have changed it over the years, but checking the BCA could have changed again, but I'm pretty sure it's 18. And so coming across to the left, I could go to 18 there, and then click to finish. Check that the risers are also the treads are the same. You'll see visually. Sometimes though, when you do this last tread, if you're slightly to one side or the other, it'll make that last step a different size. So just keep an eye on that. And so you can see it's giving me 18 rises, 10 remaining. And that's fine. So now I'm going to click a point down and to the left, and you'll see why in a minute. Once I click that point, then coming down you can see it's counting the rises again. So it's, if I go all the way to the end, going to give me 28 rises, 0 remaining. So I'm going to click now, and you'll see once I've done that, it'll add in the landing for me. So using this method, because I haven't done any setup, I've had to use my judgment and work out, just based on, again, on my judgment, where the width of that stair is going to line up with the edges, or with the, sorry, the centre line of the stair is going to give me the edges. So you might have seen the points that I was drawing along that blue line in the centre. And that's fine, I'm happy with that stair at the moment, except that I want to move it now so that it's alongside the wall. Notice I didn't try and draw it in place. Because it's a sketch, it's a 2D, or a set of 2D lines, I can just select those with a window and then either drag them, or you can use the move button or any of these other tools to adjust them, having created that sketch. You can also select part of it, so I can select maybe just the top flight there, and either again drag that, or this time I'll use the arrows on the keyboard to nudge that up and maybe just make it a bit more even. Just to give you a tip on stair design, it's helpful if you can keep a bit of distance from the edge of your last step and the landing, rather than trying to get those steps to go and join right at the corner. You'll see when you have a look at how the stairs transition, there's actually, it changes height from here to here by one riser. And if you don't have that space, then the handrail has to go 2 risers, essentially, if you have those two joining. So it's good to have that extra space, if you can. Right, so that stair's done. I've done enough to make the stair, and I can finish it by clicking the tick, and it's going to be created. You might get warnings about the railings. The railings often don't work the way you might want them to. That's fine. I'm going to just close that, and I'll come back now and select one of the railings, and you can see it's this area where it's giving me the warning. That's not too bad. I'll have a look at that in section and see how it looks now. So in my section view that I have here, I'm going to double click on that arrowhead to open it, and you can see that the stair is working reasonably well. Even that area where it gave me the warning about the transition, it's not too bad. It was actually behind here, so I'd be happy with that for now. But I'll go into one of my 3D views and then just show you how that looks on the inside. So I'll go to this one, and I'll just hide that ceiling or the floor and the ceiling. Okay, so you can see this, the stair there fairly clearly. Like I was saying, the transition isn't perfect, but you'll only notice that close up, and I wouldn't get too hung up on details like that for a project like this. It's more important to get the overall design worked out and make sure that the layouts and the images you present in total are working well before you worry about those little details. And so I'd be more than happy with that basic stair there. I've got a railing you can see running along the wall, which you don't really need if you're going to have a handrail on this side, so I'll delete that. And then I'm going to bring back the floor now, and the ceiling. Okay, so I'll just select both of those and unhide, so you can see them again. Oops, so it's just freezing up a bit. And then I'm also going to bring the section box up so that you can see the next level, where you'll see that only the railing, if I go back into out of reveal mode, only the railing is coming through. I actually didn't unhide the floor there. What happened? There's just unhide the floor. Okay, so the railing there, you can see just popping through the floor. And we need to then work out the opening that we'd need for this stair. Okay, so I'm going to select that section box and make sure it's hidden. That's out of the way. And so you need to work that out. It won't automatically make an opening in your floor or your ceiling, and you wouldn't want it to anyway. You'd always want to work that out yourself. If you had it done automatically, then it just wouldn't give you a very good result. So, yeah, you can, absolutely. Yeah, exactly. So I'm going to select my floor here, and then I'll go to Edit Boundary. And now back in the Level 1 floor plan, I can then modify my sketch for the floor by going to the Line Tool. I'm going to add in some extra lines going around that stair. You can, absolutely. So I could use pick lines here and pick the edge of the handrail. Yeah, absolutely. So I just need to trim those together to make sure they're connected. And then to work out where this hole needs to come to, have you had a look at how you work out the headroom that you'd have under a stair or under a floor and a ceiling? So if you're designing a stair, which view would you go into? Exactly, yeah. Yeah, section elevation, exactly. Looking at it from the side, you can then work that out. And so here you can see the stair. I can't see the treads because of the stringer, so I'm just going to go to wireframe so I can see through the stair, and just using the tape measure you can actually measure, but I'd have to finish the floor, so it's a bit annoying in Revit. You can't always measure perpendicular to the view you're working in, so I'll draw a line roughly where I think I'll have the headroom. It'd be about here, I think. Could be wrong. And then using split, good old split and trim to join those to the edge. I've cut a hole in the floor, so tick to finish. It's going to ask me about attaching walls to floors, and I've done all the attaching I want to do, so I'm going to say no, so it doesn't attach anymore. And then now if I go back into that section view, I can continue measuring. So using the tape measure there, I can see that from the tread here up to the ceiling, it's 2400. So I've got headroom there. What about the next step? So going from this step here up to the ceiling, 2150 roughly, which is just enough. From the step above, then we won't have the room that you need, which is minimum. Do you know the minimum headroom under the stair? It's good if you can do that. That's what you should probably be thinking of. 2 metres is the absolute minimum. It depends. I mean, I know they try and get away with less, but I've been in court cases even where they've tried to go down to the absolute minimum, and 2 metres is about as far as you can go. Yeah, that's right, exactly. And so here, so this step we don't get it, but this one, you've got 2100. So that'll be the absolute minimum. You don't always have to go to the minimum, but I will. So here I'm going to use pick lines and just pick the stair. If you missed what I did, I clicked on reference plane, and I'm going to then pick that that edge, stretch it up. Okay, so I wasn't far off anyway. Okay, so let's just double check that. So from the back of this step here to there, plenty of room, and then this step here is the one that is, again, 2100. So that's a good point to have the void cut. And just by guessing, that wasn't far off what I did before, but I'll go and adjust it further now. So back into level 1. Going to select the floor, edit boundary, and just move that over slightly just by dragging. Again, tick to finish, and no to attaching in my case. Going to the cutaway. Okay, so I've made a hole in my floor for the stair to come through, but the ceiling is still in the way. So of course the ceiling needs to have that same void. So back to level 1. If you missed it, I've got the ceiling selected. I'll just maybe show you again. So back into the 3D view. Okay, so that ceiling's still selected. I could choose edit boundary now even. Then back to level 1. It's a good view to work in. And then this time I will just use pick lines for all of it. So I'm going to pick the edges of my stair. And the reference plane, split the edge running alongside my wall, and then trim to join all those lines together. Okay, so now I've got the same void cut out of my ceiling as I had for my floor. Tick to finish, back into 3D. And now we can see the stair is clear of any interference. And that can give you a good idea of the things you need to think about with interiors. So the sorts of work you get engaged to do with interior design, you probably have an idea that interior designers often get paid pretty well, often better than architects when they graduate. But you have to be able to do the work. The ones who want to be decorators and just choose colours and things like that don't get to do this sort of work. It's the ones who can do the serious construction detailing and proper finishes that get that good money. And so you have to think about these things, right? And so that's a common issue you'll have, where you need some sort of fascia or something to cover that gap between the ceiling and the floor. You often will have a bulkhead or a space between the ceiling and the floor, which is a good thing for services and lighting and everything else. But you have to then, especially if you're putting in new stairs and doing other things, have to consider that and work out what you can do there. So have you had a look at the different options you've got for filling in those gaps? There are tools. I'm not going to go too far with them because it gets a bit fiddly in Revit using the tools they've made for this. You've got things like floor slab edges, and then with roofs you've got roof fascias, which will do a lot of this automatically. But I'm going to show you a quick and dirty way. Going back into the level 1 plan, I'm just going to use model in place. Alright, so I've got the floor there right up against the stair at the moment. First I'm going to go to edit boundary and bring that across. I'll use move this time and bring it across just 50 mil. Or maybe, sorry, I'll do a nicer detail. I'll do it 100. Finish. No. I can't see the ceiling here unfortunately, so I've got to go back to the 3D view to get that. Select the ceiling. Back to level 1. Edit boundary. I'll select that ceiling line and I can just drag it across to my floor because I know that's in the right place. And then I'll finish that. And now, still in the level 1 view, I can go to model in place. And if you don't know which category to use, just use generic models. Here you could use floors as the category. It really is part of the floor. Or you could use a few different categories, but I'll just use floors. And I'll call it floor fascia. Using extrusion, then I can simply draw a rectangle in that area where I've made my gap. Okay, there we go. Should be 100mm wide. It doesn't want to snap to that, so I'll cancel it and draw it from the other end just to make it easier. There we go. So it's 100mm wide, and I'm not even going to worry too much about the height here. It's set to -30. I'll leave it at that and finish it. Back in my 3D view, I can then use the arrows to stretch it and get the height I want. So I can bring that now down so that it snaps to, or actually it goes a bit below the ceiling. It's a nicer detail. If you try and line it up with the edge of the ceiling and do it flush, then it's actually a more difficult thing to build, and doesn't look as good anyway. Okay, and so then I could even bring this up a little bit as well and get a bit of a rise there. Oh yes, that's right, so I'll come back and do that next. Yeah, that's right, exactly, yeah. Okay, so we've got a gap there below which we'd have to fill in with something. You could have that just with glass, but that would need to be an extra thing you'd have to make, or you could put a wall here that could come up all the way. It's up to you, depends on your design. And then looking around the other side, I've got to do the same thing on all of these edges where we've got that exposed area. But these are the opportunities you have with interior design to think about ways of making that look good. Have a look at Zaha Hadid, look up her stairs, and you'll see she makes amazing use of all these opportunities to do different things. Okay, so I'll just finish that one on this side, finish model, and then show you how to continue the railing. So this railing, like Connie was saying, would just be a single separate railing. I deleted the railing on the stair from this side. We don't need that, but I can just do on the architecture tab the new railing, and I'll simply draw it over the top of that box that I've made. Tick to finish, back into the 3D view, and that's good enough for now. And then the railing that I've got on the other side, I can continue around. So actually I will go and do the enclosure for that that area, because I'll need that for the railing to sit on top of. So instead of making a new family, this might get you thinking more about families as well, which I'm going to look at next. I'm going to select that box, edit in place, and now I can add more solids to it. So back into level 1. That should be the edge of my stair. So extrusion, pick lines, and I'll pick those edges. I'm going to use offset now to get an edge 100mm from that. And then just draw some more lines in. Trim. Okay, so that's the shape I need. Again, I'll finish that for now. Have a look in my... This time I'm going to go to a section view, just to get the height, so I can get that from the other one I've made. Okay, so there's my new solid, and I can stretch that now, and it should line up with the previous solid I made earlier. Bring it up a little bit as well. Finish model, back into 3D, and then you can see, oh no, left a bit, so that's alright. Edit in place, select the extrusion, edit extrusion, back to level 1. And this is where Revit really comes into its own, because when you do things only in 2D with programs like AutoCAD, it's really easy to miss these details. You surprised how many buildings have gone ahead to construction, and then it's only when they start building that they realise that these things haven't been fully worked out. When you've got experience, you will definitely think about these things, even if you're only doing it in 2D. But again, it's something that at first often is overlooked. Okay, so that's now the finished shape, and you might have realised that my floor and ceiling still haven't been adjusted to make room for that, so I'll go back and adjust them now quickly. Edit boundary, show you some quick ways of doing this in 3D. Using the Align tool, I can pick the inside face of this object and get those lines to line up with it, which is pretty quick and easy. Tick to finish. No, if it asks you to attach usually. Same with the ceiling. Edit boundary. Can be a bit hard to see what's happening there because the sketch won't always be on the same level you're working on. So you can use set work plane to change the working level of the sketch. Okay, so that it's just so I can see things a bit more clearly. Okay, so just lining all those edges up. Oops. So just getting the right face there. Almost got it. There we go. That's done. And so I'm going to use set again to set that back to the ground floor before I finish. Okay, so there you can see it's clear of the ceiling's clear of that new object. And then finally I can finish off the railing. So I'm going to select that railing now. Back in the level 1 floor plan, I'm going to go to edit path and draw some new lines. So I'm going to come from that end point down a little bit, across, and then back up to the middle. I'm doing this just by eye to roughly in the middle of that box, and then back across, and then again back across to the wall. So it might look a bit confusing, but Revit's clever enough usually to know which levels those lines belong to. So if I finish this now and have a look back in the 3D view, you can see it's followed from the slope of the stair and then come around and now following the floor that it's above. Okay, so they're all the things you've got to think about when you make stairs. The stair tool's great. It does automate a lot of the process, but you still need to work out quite a bit of it as well. And then again, you can see these. I mean, that's not a bad. I don't mind having that exposed. I've left that exposed deliberately, that wall, the top of the wall there. You'll see that in your buildings all the time, but it's again easy to miss this when you're just working in 2D in programs like AutoCAD. So finally, maybe I'll just show you a view of that in perspective from the ground floor. Okay, so looking at that now with the camera view, I'll go and get a view that's going to show most of those things. You can see it's showing the stair, but because it's close up, I've got to go back into the plan view, stretch out the crop region, or the it's really the view depth, and then also back in the new 3D view itself, stretching out the sides so I can increase the field of view. It's a bit of a funny angle, so I'm going to use orbit with the navigation wheel just to bring that around so I can see the stair, the handrail a bit better. And well, there's another little detail that would have been easy to miss, but now I can see it. So that part there under the stair, I probably should connect that with another box, but it would be a different height to the one that I've made. I'll just fill that in later. But going into shaded view, otherwise you can see that's, apart from that, fairly complete. Okay, so I'll finish that video there, and I'll do another one with a more complex stair later.